Hi, I'm Victoria, the dietitian at the eClinic and author of Food Mad. Something I see again and again in my clinical work is people who are stuck. They are doing therapy, they're showing up, they're trying, and nothing is shifting. And for a long time, I think our field has asked something really impossible of our clients. We are expecting hard psychological work, the kind that requires insight, flexibility, emotional regulation, rational thinking, from a brain that is compromised and simply does not have the resources to create that change. And I find that genuinely upsetting because it isn't a lack of motivation, it isn't resistance, it's biology. And there's a tendency in eating disorder treatment to focus on medical stability. And of course, keeping someone alive matters, but not at immediate risk of death is not the same as the brain is functioning. Someone with chronically low sodium may be walking around feeling confused, slurring words, feeling almost delusional, and we're asking them to challenge deeply held beliefs around food and their body image. Someone without a consistent supply of glucose cannot make rational decisions. The nervous system is in a constant state of fight or flight. The threat response is always on, and this isn't rare. This is the everyday reality of malnutrition, and we're largely not talking about it. This is where I started going deeper into the neuroscience, because here's the thing most people don't fully grasp. Your brain is literally made from what you eat. Every neurotransmitter, every signal, every thought, it requires raw materials from food. Think of each neurotransmitter like a recipe. And just like cooking, if you're missing even one ingredient, the dish doesn't work. So, serotonin, your mood, sleep, and calm chemical, needs tryptophan, B6, iron, folate, B12, and magnesium, all of them at the same time. Low on just one of these, the brain cannot complete the recipe. Low mood, obsessive thinking, disruptive sleep. These things aren't just psychological symptoms, they are the chemical result of a missing ingredient. Dopamine and noradrenaline, your motivation and drive chemicals, need tyrosine, iron, B6, copper, vitamin C, folate, B12. GABA, your calm down chemical, needs glutamate, B6, magnesium, and zinc. These aren't optional extras, they are the ingredients, and you cannot make the recipe without a full, consistent supply of food. Myelin, the insulation around your nerve fibers that determines how fast and clearly your brain communicates, is mostly fat. It needs omega-3, cholesterol, choline, B12, folate, iron, and vitamin D. And when those are missing, thinking slows, cognitive fog sets in, and emotional regulation deteriorates. And the brain's ability to change and heal, to form new patterns, to recover, depends on BDNF, which drops sharply with starvation. This is why refeeding is not just physical, it's the prerequisite for psychological change. When I looked at what malnutrition does to every major structure of the brain, it stopped being abstract. Brain volume actually reduces. Areas of the brain responsible for reasoning, planning, and coping with stress become compromised. White matter, the communication tracks, thins. Neural signaling slows. Rigid thinking and reduced flexible thinking are direct structural consequences. The gut-brain axis is disruptive. Microbiome diversity drops. Brain chemicals made in the gut fall, and this is why food-related fear often intensifies the longer someone is restricting. It isn't irrational, it's neurological. These changes are reversible, but the brain must be adequately fueled before psychological work becomes effective. That sentence is the foundation of everything I do. So how it came to be that I wanted to write Food Mad. So I started connecting all of the dots. The nutritional deficiency table that I made, the brain structures, the neurotransmitter pathways, the symptoms I was seeing clinically. And I realized There was no single resource that brought it all together in a way that was accessible to the people who needed it most. FoodMad is my attempt to make the science available to people in recovery, to their families, and to other clinicians. Because when you understand why your brain is doing what it's doing and what it actually needs, the meal plan stops feeling like punishment. It starts to feel like medicine, and that shift matters. Which brings me to the question I get asked constantly. How long does the big meal plan need to stay in place? And my answer is until we see evidence that the brain is recovering. Not just weight restoration, brain recovery. In early recovery, intake needs to be above normal, above what someone would eat in everyday, flexible, hunger responsive eating. This isn't forever, but it is necessary. The brain has been running on insufficient fuel. Structures have shrunk, and neurotransmitter production has been compromised. BDNF is low. The gut-brain axis is disruptive. All of that takes time and consistent, adequate nutrition to repair. If we reduce intake too early, before flexible thinking has returned, before the eating disorder thoughts have genuinely quietened, before someone can make food decisions without significant fear or rigidity, the brain remains compromised. Symptoms intensify, and we're asking back to the impossible. And of course, my cat's coming in to say hello while I'm doing this, but I'm not going to stop. And I want to say something to the clinicians watching this. This work is hard for the client, yes, but also for the team around them. When someone is malnourished and their brain is in that compromised state, distress is expected. Tears are expected. Pushback against the meal plan is expected. That is not failure. That is the neurobiology doing exactly what we know it does. Our job as dietitians, therapists, GPs, nurses, psychiatrists, parents, carers, is to hold that distress with kindness and empathy, not to flinch from it, not to back away from it, and not to let it erode the boundary of the meal plan. Because the meal plan is not the enemy, it is the medicine. Every person in that team needs to understand that so that they can hold that line warmly, compassionately, and together. This does work. I have seen it work. But it takes a whole team moving in the same direction with the same understanding of what the brain needs and why. When we do that, when everyone around that person truly understands the neuroscience, truly expects the difficulty and holds it with care, the outcomes are different. So the resources I've created, the Brain Nutrition Guide, the Brain Malnutrition Map, and the Nutritional Deficiency Table and the Recovery Eating Framework are all available to download below if you're watching this on my website. Whether you're in recovery yourself or supporting someone you love or working in this field, I hope they help you see what I see every day, that full recovery is biologically possible and it starts with food. And if you want to learn more about the nutritional neuroscience of the starved brain, you can purchase my book Food Mad in the link below. And I'm donating $2 of every book to the EDCS team, as teamwork is dreamwork. And they really support by putting this framework and helping families as well. Thank you.